Back in the early 90s, when I was 11, our mail started to disappear. It was due to identity theft, that someone was stealing our identity. The identity theft continued to progress and escalated to utility shutoffs and included more fraudulent accounts being set up over time. When I was a sophomore in college, I moved off campus and got my first apartment. The electric company sent me a letter in the mail that said we needed a $100 deposit due to your credit score. I thought it was because I didn't have enough credit and requested a copy of my credit report. I was shocked to see that my credit report was 10 pages long, and it was full of fraudulent credit card entries and associated collection agency entries. It was my name, my social security number, my date of birth. So as far as creditors were concerned, it's my debt. It's taken years to get out of the financial debt. I was extremely surprised and shocked to find out who had been responsible for the identity theft. Not only were they responsible for stealing my identity, they were responsible for stealing the identities of other family members as well.
What a story. Well, from her home in Brookings, South Dakota, please welcome Axton Betz-Hamilton. Axton, thank you so much for joining. I have your book here with me. The less people know about us. This is a story for the ages. Because there's so many questions I have. First of all, you ended up becoming an identity theft expert because of what happened to you. Take me to that moment in college when you're applying and then you get your credit report and you start to see all of these things, pages and pages that you had not applied for. What did you think?
Well, I knew that my parents' identities had been stolen back in 1993. And when I looked at my credit report and looked at those fraudulent charges, I could see that the person responsible for opening those fraudulent credit cards, they did it at the same time that my parents' identities were stolen. So it could be assumed that the person responsible for my identity theft was also responsible for their identity theft.
So you know that your parents have had their identity stolen. Now yours, you're piecing it together. The person has your social security. They've got your birthday. They have these intimate details about your identity. And then the person turns out to be someone right in front of you. And it was
my mom.
Your mother, the woman pictured in this photo with you in the blue dress, your own mom, had stolen your identity. And she was responsible for those pages and pages. Did you immediately confront her?
Well, actually, I couldn't confront her. And that's unfortunate because that's something that I wanted to do. As I was struggling with recovering from the identity theft, I wanted to identify the person responsible and hold them accountable. Unfortunately, my dad and I didn't discover that she was responsible for the identity theft until 13 days after she passed away in 2013.
That's when you got the confirmation. And I know that on her deathbed, even then, she refused to explain or admit the truth there.
Correct. She had opportunity to do that, because we were asking her, is there anything you want us to know? Is there anything that we need to know, about the family finances, because she was in charge of the family finances. And, she was doing all of these online transactions with online bank accounts and whatnot. Dad didn't know how to do that. So, he was lost. He was asking her questions. I was asking her questions. And the only, if you can say it, ominous thing she said to me was, you just have to take care of your dad. And she did say that repeatedly in one conversation, but she wouldn't tell me what needed to be taken care of.
Why do you say that was ominous? Because I would imagine, obviously a lot of, people's last wishes for the person that they're leaving behind to be cared for. Why did you interpret that as being ominous?
Well, so Mom kept saying, just take care of your dad. Just take care of your dad.
Yeah.
And she was repeating it. And I thought maybe it was all of the pain medication she was on that was talking. And I finally
Mm,
said, Mom, Dad's a big boy. He can take care of himself. What needs to
mm,
be taken care of? Did you not pay a bill or something? I actually said, did you not pay a bill or something?
oh,
And she
wow.
rolled her eyes back, rolled her head back, and through gritted teeth said, just take care of your dad.
Wow. I guess, first of all, that is devastating to have this be the last memory, this confrontation. But prior to that, Axton, was there something in particular that made you certain that it was your mom? I know she never admitted it, but when you were piecing together the information and you know what was happening with your parents' credit, was there, I don't like using that term smoking gun, but was there something that made you pretty certain, even without her admitting, that it was her?
No, no, I was completely oblivious to the fact that she was the offender all along. And, one of the reasons for that is she was an advocate and a supporter of my work in identity theft. I became an
Mm.
expert in the area of identity theft before I knew she was the person responsible. She came to an awards ceremony where I received a
Wow.
national award, and
But
she's
why were
standing there
you then
smiling.
asking her? You're there, and I saw the presentation because you became an identity expert, identity theft expert. But for you to be asking on her dying bed, was there something in the back of your head through the expertise that you'd learned and through your experience that would even make you want to keep asking her?
No, no. She was very good at telling the tale that she had been a victim as well. And
Mm,
in crafting that narrative, she cast other family members as potential suspects and or well, now former family friends as suspects. And there was enough truth in that. And based on my knowledge as an identity theft expert, there was enough truth in what she was saying. It's like, well, maybe you're right. And, mom wouldn't do these
mm,
things. She's sitting at home in the dark without
right,
electricity, when
right.
they've shut off the electricity. Of course she's a victim.
And your mom was the person who was pushing the paranoia in the family that someone's out there taking our identity, and it was her. Why would she do this?
Well, as an expert, looking back on that, I think it was a way to isolate dad and I from other family members and from friends of the family, so she could control the narrative that they were being told by her, and that she could control the narrative that she was telling us. And it kept dad and I away from those individuals, because we were suspecting several people of being behind the identity theft. And again, that isolation was a way to control us and give her power over us. And really, she controlled what we knew. She controlled who we talked to. She controlled whether or not dad contacted the police. She really controlled
Wow.
the narrative and who we spoke to and when we spoke to them.
The identity theft portion of this, was it because money was tight? I mean, was she, I can't get a credit card in my own name, so I'll use my child's name or my husband. No harm, no foul. Do you think she tricked her mind into believing that this was a no harm, no foul kind of situation because it's my kid or it's my husband?
Well, so that's an interesting question. So mom worked in the financial services industry for most of her career. So she should have known the harmful consequences of identity theft. And she should have known the consequences of what happens when you don't pay a credit card bill, regardless of if it's in your name or your child's name or your spouse's name. She had to have known how that would affect their credit. And she should have known
Yeah.
how it would have affected me. I honestly, I think why she did it was rooted in some sort of mental health disorder.
Oh, wow. Well, after everything you went through, I know that part of the reason you wrote this book, it is a betrayal, as you call it, but also you want to help other people who may become victims of identity theft. You're an expert. What do you see as the cautionary tale, even though, as you pointed out, you believe some of this, for your mother anyway, was rooted with mental health? At the end of the day, though, the crime committed was the identity theft with the credit card fraud. What's the cautionary story here, you think, for other people?
Know what's going on with your finances. That's something that unfortunately my dad trusted my mom with 100%. As a
Mm.
spouse, or you're in a committed relationship with a significant other, even if finances aren't your thing, make sure that you understand what's going on with your personal finances. Know what transactions are going through, your joint checking account if you have one. Know what's going on with, your federal income taxes. You don't necessarily have to do the work of, filing taxes and writing the checks, but have an understanding of what money you have and what's coming in and where it's going.
Sage advice. Well, Axon, it is an incredible story. We appreciate you joining us to talk about it. And Axton's memoir is called The Less People Know About Us. It is on shelves now.